Well, hello and welcome to the Soft UK podcast. I'm Kate Hart and I'm the Communications Officer for the charity Soft, which is a support organisation for families with trisomy 13 and 18. And today I'd like to welcome Jenny Hudson, a chiropractor and a professional advisor for Soft. Welcome, Jenny.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time, and I suppose we should probably start off by saying that we do actually know each other. So for everyone listening today, my daughter Hannah, Hannah and I form part of Jenny's story. So you'll hear a bit more about that coming up in a little while. But Jenny, perhaps you'd like to start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your professional background, please.
Sure. It's really lovely to be here. So yes, I'm a chiropractor and I do a lot within infant feeding as well. I feel like I have a few hats, but there's two of them. I've been a chiropractor since 2002, so 20 years. We had a reunion recently that was very surreal. I've always been involved in complex patients. I seem to have attracted patients that are interesting since I was a student clinician. So I enjoy the challenge of that. I love that. I've done a lot within paediatrics since qualification, and I've tried to keep that going. I feel like I've done a lot of paediatric courses that are out there. I think I've done all of them yet, but most. I also did a postgraduate diploma in biomechanics because I really needed to put some physics really on what we were doing. So it allows me to put some maths on how you explain a problem and how you identify an issue. Breastfeeding's been a natural progression from there. I've got two boys. They're a little bit older now than needing to be breastfed. They're 16 and 10. But then my journeys with both of those with breastfeeding really led me to understand I need to do more, I need to understand more, and I need to give back as well. Without the breastfeeding support I had when I certainly had my eldest, I wouldn't have carried on feeding. And so when the breastfeeding group I was part of pretty much disbanded because the NHS didn't have the resources and the time, and potentially the need, then at that point I was pretty much given the mantle by the lady who ran the breastfeeding group and said, "It's all yours." That's okay. So that was a while ago. So I've run loosely Utox to breastfeeding group for the past probably 14 years, maybe a little bit less, but not far off. And that's gone from strength to strength. So that's gone from being within an NHS setting to within clinic, and it's become very virtual. The pandemic changed it dramatically, but it's also allowed me to change how I work, but also to put more community support out there as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, it's apparent that you've always enjoyed helping people and wanting to give back. So thank you for that. So tell us, how did a chiropractor with an interest in breastfeeding support get involved in a charity to do with trisomy 13 and trisomy 18?
I think some things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
I think those things often lead to being a problem. I've seen multiple children and a handful of adults with hypotonic problems, so low muscle tone issues, and also with some very rare genetic conditions, not necessarily from a trisomy point of view. That tends to lead to families who have got other problems and other areas that they need support with. From a chiropractic point of view, the musculoskeletal and the neurological side lends itself very interestingly into the trisomy world, looking at the complexity of these babies and the very difficulties they go and have with suck, swallow, breathe, with how they use their jaw, with how they use their cranial structures, and how these babies are born to have to cope with those sorts of problems as well. And on the flip side of that, how the dyad works. So it isn't just the baby, it's the family that matter dramatically as well. So breastfeeding helps to support both of those. But actually, from my own professional point of view, I really do think that being able to tie that together and being able to delve down those routes and being able to optimize what I can go and offer really takes you into charities like yourselves, where it's incredible what you're doing. It's awesome. And I've signposted a few families already towards Soft.
Fantastic.
But it really takes you down there. We need to do more. We need to provide more. We need to be available more. And I strive to work multidisciplinary whenever I physically can. That's hard. So charities like Soft really help to allow that to happen in a little more smoother way. Not always easy, but it's definitely slightly more smoother.
Okay, fantastic. So yeah, for everyone listening, I took Hannah to see Jenny for a consultation. earlier on in her life, and she was having some trouble breastfeeding, and I was expressing milk, and I'd had somebody comment that she didn't have a very coordinated suck, swallow, breathe. I don't know what the word is, but yeah, hers was all over the show. Somebody else said, "Oh well, seems to be working for her because she is managing to feed, but just not the way maybe a typical baby would." So yeah, and I had some fantastic support and advice from Jenny, and Jenny also put me in touch with a lead from the breastfeeding group, and she gave me some tips, and yeah, it was fantastic that you got to meet Hannah as well, because it was during the pandemic and not many people actually got to meet her. So you were one of the very, very lucky few who got to
I
meet
feel
her.
honoured to be part of, and Hannah's changed my world. Hannah made a massive difference to how I wanted to progress forward. She made me completely reflect on where I was as a clinician, and where I wanted to go towards as well. So Hannah was an incredible young lady that really made a vast impact, probably on more than just me, in terms of where we went. And the pandemic was hard, really hard on numerous levels.
Yeah. Well, yes, as a charity, SOFT is very fortunate to have a number of professional advisors who contribute their time and skills and add credibility to the support that we can give to families in our community. So we've got advisors including a geneticist, a bereavement midwife, we've got the chair of a children's hospice, we've got professors and pediatricians, and many, many more. So Jenny, could you tell the listeners how you actually got involved with SOFT as a professional advisor?
So yeah, I think I got involved predominantly through baby Hannah. It was that strive and that need to want to do more, and also to allow. One thing I've very much identified with families is that we need to be able to get parents in front of people quickly. We've got a limited time sometimes, and we need to optimize that time, especially with feeding. The baby needs optimal nutrition quickly, and not a half-handed answer, or not a "it'll be okay" or "why don't we do this." We need to have structure, we need education, and that's something the research really pushes towards, is that we need to look at breastfeeding education in the NIC, in intensive care units, not in the community at the beginning. We need it actually in the hospitals straight away, and it's helping to these infant feeding leads to have that background in education. So I think as a professional advisor, the more we can work together to try and move forward, the better for families if we can.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jenny. And as the newest professional advisor for SOFT, what would you say one could offer a charity like SOFT?
So I can think from 2 or 3 different angles. So multidisciplinary without a doubt. So signposting, working together, smoothing the waters, no question. Helping parents to translate and understand. I see a lot of parents that are overwhelmed. There's too much information. They don't know where they're turning. They need to be in control, and they're struggling to be in control because everyone's telling them 50 different things. That doesn't help. We need to concise that down. We need to make sure the parent is the conductor and the healthcare team of the orchestra, and they can play them at the way they want to play them, at the time and the speed they want to play those rhythms and those tunes. And the only way I feel we can do that is to put everybody in place. I also feel as a professional that very much be there from 2 other angles of that. So from a musculoskeletal point of view, the neurological side of the trisomy conditions is vast. It's huge, looking at how these babies are working and how they're using their muscles, how those muscles have actually developed or not, how their jaw is developed or not, where the positioning of things are, how we can work with those babies to optimize that, and how we can support the parents to understand the way they can improve those strategies is really, really important. Also, the musculoskeletal health of the mother is also very important. There's often traumatic deliveries. So it's making sure mum is recovering and understands how she can recover and where her role is into that. So that can be very important. From an infant feeding point of view, they tie together very nicely, as I'm finding too many times at the moment. So jaw function and oromotor skills are a very big part of that, but also positioning and attachment. So how can we best support these babies to directly breastfeed? And almost every research paper is talking about that a lot of the time, even very wobbly babies who potentially have some big problems can directly breastfeed. It's less tiresome than a bottle. And maybe if we're not going down that route, it doesn't have to be one or the other. We can look at supplementary nursing systems. We can look at cup feeding. We can look at tube feeding. There are hundreds of ways of optimizing that nutrition to that baby. If we are directly breastfeeding, how we can support airway, how we can make sure that head is in control, and how that baby can then use their muscles that they have, and how they can use the muscles around into here to actually form a tongue that actually works to feed, and how that baby can then learn to swallow. And there are lots of different positions and different holds, like the dancer hold where we're under the jaw, or the rugby ball hold. There's lots of different ways, and even feeding in a sling, so the baby is creatively positioned in lots of ways. And I work very closely with one of the local sling groups to do that sort of strategy. They're amazing with a piece of fabric, but how we can work around that to try and support that mum and baby. And it's also looking at the bonding process, so the skin to skin, the importance of non-nutritive sucking. So baby doesn't actually have to be feeding at the breast, but baby could be at the breast. That helps regulate baby's body temperature, baby's heart rate. It's all useful when we have babies with complex needs. It happens in units normally, but it's helping empower that parent that's really important, and also helping the parent understand about feeding frequencies, what that baby can cope with from a GI point of view, how we can keep the airway patent. It's all about education, and it's all about knowledge and being empowered to really go and do these sorts of things. So 3 different angles, maybe.
Lovely. Fantastic. Thank you, Jenny. And what about in your practice? What kind of challenges do you see people and families facing at the moment?
Oh, lots. I think one of the biggest things is time. A lot of the families I see have got time as a massive pressure, and whether don't feel they have enough hours in the day, or they have time pressures with the conditions that they're dealing with at home as a family, and then how they can best impart that time with a financial directive onto that as well. A lot of families we see are struggling, and it's trying to help them to understand that they have a way forward. There was a recent paper that came out looking at the cost of formula and the cost of infant formula, and the fact that's escalated. And we're seeing healthcare problems apparently coming through peds, with mums having to change, and parents having to change how they go and feed these babies and how they change it. Breastfeeding should be vital with regards to that, because it's a free source of nutrition, and it's trying to help that one. I think a lot of parents are also quite confused. They've got multiple things coming at them, and there's a lot of fear, especially with the media and how they're working. COVID's made people change how we look at things. The pandemic's had impact in too many different ways, and a lot of parents are in need of support, in need of real support, not just virtual support. I know our peer support groups we run are full, they're really busy, and I think sometimes just having a cup of tea next to another parent in a similar-ish situation it's massive. It's that having that touching base, being able to download, it's huge from a mental health point of view. And I really do feel a lot of parents do have problems with low mood, and trying to, again, go back to time, trying to manage multiple pots up in the air at the moment. It seems to be a big problem.
Okay, thank you. And what do you hope to achieve by being involved in SOFT? Or another way of putting that is, how do you hope to make a difference?
Oh, I'd love to be involved more. I really would love to be involved more. I need to. I need to learn. I'm always learning. My learning curve is like this for the past 20 years, and I'd like it to keep escalating. I really hope to make a difference in helping to coordinate things. I'd love to help by that amazing program of people. We should be team working. That would be marvelous, to look at case management in a multidisciplinary team way. I also think the research perhaps needs to be improved. Having done literature searches within trisomy conditions, it's quite sparse. There isn't enough out there that's directed, that isn't practical, that's useful information that can be easily disseminated down. And maybe that would change things above. That would be wonderful. That's a long way off. There are a few case reports out there in the literature. There's a few systemic studies, but there isn't enough that's perhaps useful from the point of view. So I think I'd like to be involved on the ground, but I'd also love to be involved to see where we can go with the research and how far we can take that, within reason.
Yeah, of course.
Where we can go.
Of course. Well, sure, Jenny, that all sounds wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I know definitely from a personal point of view, when I was expecting Hannah, I knew her little life would be short, and it became very important to me that I would get that opportunity to bond with her and breastfeed her. So I knew it would be a complex journey, but your help and advice certainly helped to achieve that. So I've got some very special memories that I'll forever cherish as a result. So yeah, thanks again, and thank you for talking to me today and for all the amazing work you do. Is there anything you'd like to add before we finish off today?
No, I think it's been an honour and a privilege to be part of Hannah's world and yours as well. And I love the fact we get to keep that going and continue.
Definitely. Well, thanks again, Jenny, and thanks to everyone listening. We hope that this has helped you to find out more about what SOFT does and how professional advisors from different backgrounds can help create our community. Whether you're an expectant parent, a bereaved parent, a family member, or a professional, if you need support or information, we're here for you. So please reach out to SOFT, and our contact details can be found in the podcast below. Thanks again.